and welcome to FinextraTV. I'm Hannah Wallace and we're here at Money20 in Amsterdam. Kindly joining me now is Will Marwick, CEO of IFX Payments. Will, thank you very much for inviting us to your stand.
You're very welcome. Thanks for coming.
Really good to meet you and excited to talk a bit about IFX Payments and what you're doing in this space. But before, it'd be great if you could set the scene for us really and bring us up to date and tell us what are those big fintech and payment banking trends that we're seeing today?
Sure. Well, I think we're seeing the real evolution of B2B payments now. I think as sort of businesses go more online and sort of there's a huge adoption of e-commerce now, it's really ramping up. I think we're now seeing sort of traditional invoicing, for example, not really being keeping up to speed with that, and so it's time consuming, it's it's sort of administratively burdensome. So I think we're going to see that the buy now pay laters of this world that we've seen quite prevalently in the retail space, that's really going to come into the business space, B2B. So that's going to help with customer conversion and customer engagement moving forward. So I think that's going to be a trend really for the certainly for the next sort of 12 to 24 months. Account-to-account payments as well, so that business has been able to leverage those into sort of network payments to reduce cost and be able to sort of customize payment flows and alleviate sort of those sort of admin burdens as well that we've talked about. So I think those are going to be sort of big trends for certainly in the payment space. And then naturally the ESGs of this that we sort of trickle down from regulatory and sort of banking providers as well, I think are going to be imposed on EMIs and payment providers certainly in the short term. Yes, on an environmentally sort of basis, we're looking at moving to a cashless society, which obviously helps. But I think that's going to also look at sort of what are our customer bases doing, and that sort of then sort of transcends into that social responsibility around how we manage data and what our customers are doing on that front. And then on the governance side, well, naturally that's always going to follow financial services. Yeah. So you're looking at consumer duty, operational resilience. Those are things that are really going to be in the forefront of everyone's minds. Certainly as those get rolled out, and sort of the economic climate, let's say, is sort of commands that quite prevalently.
That's right. Well, thank you very much for setting the scene for us there. Interesting to hear what IFX are doing around those trends as well. And I want to hear a bit more about the corporates as well, because there's no doubt their needs are changing, aren't they? So tell us, how do you see them changing and where are you positioned to help them? Yeah,
well, absolutely. Well, I think corporates are always going to have that sort of need for cheaper, faster, more secure payments. But I think also what's really coming to light is the sort of the improved digitization of payments and the platforms that are available out there. So when we speak to finance professionals and CFOs and treasury managers and the like, they're looking at ways in which they can sort of get that real-time reporting. How can they improve payment workflows? How can they harmonize banking formats? And what our platform does is it enables customers to do that. So we're looking at ways in which we can offer that real-time reporting, that way in which we can look at a business's authorization structure and be able to ensure that payments are going out in a secure manner. So we're looking at 24/7 payment screening, strong customer authentication, virtual IBANs that enable our customers to segregate their remittance flow with 100% accuracy and sort of be really able to scale their infrastructure in a way that is user-friendly without being sort of really cumbersome and maintaining accounts all over the world. I think businesses want to use that single source to be able to manage their cross-border payment flow and manage that liquidity risk in a really sort of centralized place instead of managing sort of really complex sort of infrastructures all over the world, really.
Sure, and on that note then, there are a lot of opportunities, but with opportunities often come the challenges. We'll come on to the opportunities in a minute, but first let's talk about some of those challenges we can expect to see moving on into 2023 and next year as well.
Yeah, well I think recently the FCA sent out a Dear CEO letter which really sort of brought to light some home truths in this industry around safeguarding, for example, in terms of how EMIs and payment providers are looking after their customers and looking after their customers' money more importantly. And I don't think there's been a lot of finger pointing as to prescriptive guidance, what's good practice, what's bad practice. But I think the reality is that there is a lot of work that needs to be done in terms of implementing more governance and more controls around the area, but in a way that doesn't inhibit innovation. So we're not talking about safeguarding when once a payment instruction is given when that money is released. I'm talking about commingling of funds and over safeguarding funds, really basic things that I don't think I don't think you really need prescriptive guidance on. So I think as an industry and as organisations that participate in that, I think we have an obligation to really look at ways in which we can deliver that in a scalable manner. And I think that is really where the challenge lies for fintechs is, more regulation is going to be coming. It's going to become more onerous. The risks are going to grow within this industry as we manage more client money and as we sort of process payments. You've got things like embedded flow, you've got digital assets, you've got a whole wide array of payments being processed. And being able to manage that risk in a scalable way that doesn't sink your business with cost as you have hamsters and wheels trying to process this, it's going to be a real challenge. So what we've done at IFX is we've got dedicated work streams to be able to do straight through processing, strong customer authentication, safeguarding, you name it, it's all there. But I think we've been able to do that because we've got those in-house teams at hand. Where I think a lot of fintechs are going to feel that challenge is being able to deliver that in a scalable way without limiting their own value, limiting the capital that they can deploy on sort of more product-led features. So there's a whole host of challenges there, and I'd implore any fintech to really think about what the short-term opportunities are, but really think about their long-term success in terms of delivering scale.
Sure. Some very good words of wisdom there and advice weaved into your response. So thanks very much for that, Will. And now let's come on to those opportunities then. And how is IFX positioned to make the most of those opportunities?
Yeah, well, I think we try and position ourselves as a business that tries to redefine. We're not your banking provider. We're your payments partner. And I think what we're trying to do is help businesses identify that their treasury and their finance departments can become a real value add for them. And especially in this climate, I think they've got an opportunity to turn a payments network and a payments platform into a competitive advantage against their peers in their respective industries. So what we've done is we've released a single, a multi-currency, single platform solution that enables businesses to buy and sell their currency online, make their cross-border payments through a single source to help sort of consolidate their costs and optimize their financial performance. So what we're able to do there for them is to sit down with them and say, what are your payments needs? What are the basics that you require? But also, where are the value adds that we can add? How can we identify ways in which we can support you moving forward? So that might be reconciling with your accounting software, or that might be issuing credit. And I'm not talking about credit in the sense of like overdrafts or loans or anything like that. Going back to that, buy now, pay later scheme. But how can we do things like factoring? How can we do things like invoice financing, receivables financing to help alleviate cash flows for businesses? So I think businesses can be looking out there and looking at the opportunities and saying, if I partner with the right payments tech solution, then actually I can gain that a little bit extra for them, against my industry peers, and alleviate my own cash flow concerns because I've got a partner that really understands what I need. So what we do is we look to take a consultative approach with our customers. We don't look at ways in which we can just sort of try and ram product down their throat. It's not what we're about here. We're about trying to understand what their needs are, reflect it, what their business plan is within their pricing models, and work with them to give them that competitive advantage. So I think we try and look at ways in which we can then expand that and start doing the account-to-account payments as well to leverage that trend that we talked about earlier, and the way in which we can sort of support businesses moving forward.
Well, watch this space, I think it's safe to say. Will, thank you so much for sharing your insights.
Thank you for having me.
We've got a buzzy Money 2020 around us, so I'll let you get back out there, but thank you very much.
Thank you.